not sponsored by nor am I affiliated with any of the companies mentioned in this video. All opinions represented are mine and mine alone. They do not represent anyone besides myself. Your opinions may differ. That's okay. Try this stuff out for yourself to find out if it works for you.
Hi everyone, it's me, Krista. Welcome back to my channel if you've been here before. If not, welcome for the very first time to my little art corner here on YouTube. Today I'm going to be unboxing the Artsnacks box for August 2019. This is just going to be the regular box. I do not get the premium one. So let's get on into it. Like with every month, we get a nice little menu that's in the shape of a bookmark saying what exactly is inside. And they're already advertising their Inktober collection for 2019. Ink is coming. We've partnered with Jake Parker again to bring you a completely new 2019 Inktober collection. It features 8 full-size premium products and some sweet Artsnacks exclusives. Pre-order yours now at www.artsnacks.co/Inktober. The sticker this time is a nice little pastel pattern. Almost reminds me of cotton candy, actually, in the shape of their normal little Artsnacks logo. The snack this time is a Dum Dum, and I got the flavor cream soda, which I'm actually really happy about because it is one of my favorite flavors that they make. Definitely going to be munching on this very soon. Now we're going to talk about the first actual bit of art supplies that came in this month's box. We are starting with the Sennelier Abstract Matte Soft Body Acrylics. They are $5.95 each. These are a new product and they're already a staff favorite. Experience acrylic innovation with Sennelier Abstract Matte Soft Body Acrylics. Made in France, this high quality fine acrylic paint is extremely pigmented and has incomparable coverage. It's packaged in an ultra strong flexible pouch that ensures better preservation and keeps your paint safe during transport. You'll find 2 different velvety matte colors in your box. My box, I got red and I got blue, specifically primary red and primary blue. They're both 2 flora ounces and 60 millimeters. Bleh, milliliters, not millimeters. Liters is for liquid. Meters would be a different measurement altogether. And like I said, the colors I got were red and blue. If you got something different, please let me know in that comment section down below. In order to use the paint, it looks like this just twists off and there's a little part that breaks off. And it didn't look like there were any items in there to help preserve the paint after you open it. Not gonna lie, I'm a little suspect of these pouches. I think I'm just used to a thicker tube. But whatever. The next item that is in this box is also a brand new item. It is a Winsor & Newton fine liner, and this is normally $2.99 retail. Fluidly capture your ideas with the Winsor & Newton fine liner. With water-resistant, non-fading black pigment ink, this pen fits every style of sketching. Its smoothly tapered nib is not only elegant, but also delivers consistent and reliable ink flow. And I am holding it in my hand right now. It's really lightweight, which can be a good thing. And also, that is a very, very fine tip there. Should be able to get some really nice small lines with it. The final item in this month's box is the King Art Radiant Taklon brush. It is an oval wash, size 1/2 inch. And this is normally $14.99 retail. This is a limited edition. King Art designs their brushes with the artist in mind, manufacturing them to survive years of steady use. Their Radiant Taklon brush features the finest synthetic fibers that are remarkably durable, easy to care for, and versatile. This month, Artsnackers are receiving a limited edition half size of the Radiant Oval Wash Brush, which works beautifully with the Sennelier acrylics. And the brush does feel fairly soft. I have noticed already that, yeah, there's like dust in that or something. because I've got stuff coming out. I'll take some better photos so you can actually see what I'm talking about. And also some of the bristles are already a little frayed. It could possibly be that that preservative that they put on the bristles to keep them a little harder and more resilient during like transit and packaging and stuff might have just hardened a little bit too much, but there's definitely some white stuff right there.
Hopefully in these photos you're going to see a little bit more what I'm talking about. You can kind of see towards the bottom of the brush there's like little dust molecules or something going on right there. And the tips are a little splayed already. And then it looks like there's more dust there.
And I just gave it a nice little wash and tap just to get whatever it is out of there. Get it all nice and clean. I don't normally wash my brushes before I use them for the first time, but maybe we should all do it with this one. I promise we're going to start the painting soon here, but I kind of want to give you an idea of what the thought process I have going into this is. I think I want to do something like this. This is a still from the film The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. It is an old German expressionism silent film. I wanted to do something that was slightly abstract, but also slightly realistic. Thus why I landed on some German expressionism. Thinking for the buildings, I'm going to do some blue and then use the red for the windows. So we're going to try to keep the colors as separated as possible. We'll see how that works out though. My plan also includes not having these figures in here. I kind of just want to focus on this background. The surface I'm going to be using is actually just going to be a piece of canvas board. It doesn't have a brand. I believe this came with some Liquitex set that I got on clearance because Liquitex Heavy Body is my favorite acrylic paint. And if they have any sets on super sale, I am going to buy them. So that's how this happened. It's a good surface for acrylic paint. It's a decent size. It's not too big, not too small. I wanted to do something slightly bigger due to the size of the brush that came with this set. I'm going to try to use that brush as much as possible. I am probably going to have to pull in at least one smaller brush. We will see. I also have a clean plastic palette to use. What? What kind of sorcery is this? So yeah, now that I've kind of explained my thought process and other stuff I'm going to be pulling in, let's get into it.
So to get the basic outline for this, I'm just using a very cheap graphite pencil in HB. I think it is a Reeves one. R-E-E-V-E-S. I also start using my Derwent electric eraser to help get rid of some of the lines I don't need. And you'll see that I do eventually outline this in a paint marker as well, and then get rid of the graphite lines. It was just a little bit darker than I initially wanted it to be, and the electric eraser is actually pretty good for getting the graphite out of the grooves of the canvas, because sometimes a kneaded eraser or even like a normal rubber eraser, it's kind of hard to do that. And pretty soon here I will be using a paint marker in order to further define those outlines I have in and move some shapes around. It can be easier to keep track of the shapes when you're doing it this way because you have two different colors. I'm just using a water-based Sharpie to do this. And at this point, we still have not gotten into anything that came in the box. Just getting the outlines done. And right now I'm going to take a moment to talk about the process of creating this painting. This has been one of the more frustrating things that's happened that I've done recently. The marker that I'm using right now actually exploded. The back of it exploded. That's why the back of it is blue right now. And that was the beginning of basically a comedy of errors that happened while trying to do this painting. At this point, I'm again using that electric eraser to get rid of the original pencil outlines I had. So this way we are only following the paint marker lines. And I'm about to squeeze some paint out of one of those containers. It's really interesting. It almost feels like letting liquid out of a pre-mixed drink bag. If you are of a certain age, you probably know what I'm talking about. So this paint. Soft body acrylics are usually not as thick as heavy body acrylics, obviously. And sometimes reds are not quite as opaque as some other colors, same with certain shades of blue. This is still a lot thinner than I thought it was going to be, especially when they were talking about it being a high coverage paint, basically. I'm gonna just double check what I said earlier while I was opening the box to verify what I'm talking about. I didn't find either of the paint colors to be very pigmented, because they're supposed to be extremely pigmented, and I didn't find the coverage very good. I had to layer up quite a bit to get any level of coverage, and it's supposed to have incomparable coverage. So just a opinion there about what was said on the pamphlet versus at least my experience with using the paint. They felt a lot more like watercolor to me than acrylic paint. And maybe if I would have chosen paper instead of a canvas board, I would have been able to use them a little bit better. For what I thought they were going to be, what I'm doing just didn't quite work out as well as I thought it was going to. So, mistake number one. I did end up playing around a little bit with mixing the two together to get a kind of purple shade to help differentiate different sections of these abstracted buildings I'm doing. And that was more for me to be able to kind of keep track of what I was doing and also to add a little bit of dimension to that sky. Also, I noticed while working on it that when the paints dried, they seemed less bright, which that can happen with certain paints. There is going to be a slight difference between a wet paint and the dry paint color. I think I was just expecting it to retain some of that brightness. And here on these first layers of blue, it literally almost looks like I am just using marker. Like, if you didn't know I was using paint, you'd probably think I just used some markers that were drying out for a good chunk of this. At least at this stage. And I'm just layering quite a bit here to help build up the coverage and to helpfully bring back a little bit of brightness at this point. I'm also using a hairdryer in between to help dry it more quickly so that I can keep working on it. That is something I do with watercolor and with acrylic paint in order to speed up the process a little bit. And on this layer of the blue paint, as you can see, it is starting to become more opaque. I'm getting better coverage. This is definitely one that you're gonna have to layer up quite a few times. It is not a like one-shot coverage kind of paint. And I'm doing the same with that red in the sky. Letting it dry, going over it, letting it dry, going over it. Just trying to get some coverage and some brightness. I also decided to use some red as an accent color on the buildings to kind of insinuate a little bit of light and the reflection of the color on there. For shading, I was planning on using the Winsor & Newton marker that came in the set, the 0.31, and do like small cross hatching closer together to be able to get that shading. At first it worked alright, and then the marker started drying out later, which I'm not quite at that point yet. Right now I am using a plastic palette knife to bring in that red a little bit better because it looks nicer applied this way, at least to me. And even with using the palette knife, I had to layer it a little bit. As you can see. And I will say this, I think if I use these paints again, I'm going to use it on paper. Probably watercolor paper and apply them more like watercolor. Here I'm still trying to pretend like they're going to act like acrylic paint. And it's just not working for the way I'm trying to use it. And I did actually let the paint dry before using the Winsor & Newton marker over areas where I previously had paint. Like I said, I was going to try doing some really small cross-hatching in order to get the shading to do this, because there's literally no shading right now. And as you can see, I'm using that piece of paper to make sure the marker is still working. And a lot of that's off camera, but I'm basically using a scrap piece of paper to try to get the marker to flow again. And it works for a little while, and then it kind of stops. I do then switch to a Pentel Technica pen I have that's the same size, a 0.3 millimeter. And for a while I switched between these two to try to get it to work. In all fairness, the marker could have died because I'm trying to use it on canvas board and not on paper, because I know depending on the medium, sometimes canvas board is not the best for certain markers. I use plenty of markers on canvas board all the time, but there are just certain ones that don't like it very well. And I don't think I'm at this point yet, but I do get kind of frustrated with trying to use the marker that came in the set or the gel pen, so I switched to a Stabilo pen, a nice thick black marker, to help get some of the effects that I wanted a little bit more quickly. I would have loved to be able to do the small cross-hatching and have it show up and be beautiful. It just wasn't working out the way I was planning. And that is just how sometimes art goes. Sometimes it just does not go in a direction where you plan. And you got to adjust and go around it. I do feel bad that I had to pull in stuff that wasn't part of the set, but there's not much else I could have done at this point. I'm still trying to get those smaller markers to work at this point. Holy moly. I wasted a lot of time trying to get that to work here. Between the pen and the marker that came in this Artsnacks box. So I'd get it to flow a little bit, maybe, then it would stop. And this is the point where I switch over to the marker that actually ends up working alright, and that is the Stabilo one. That way I was able to get some kind of depth going on, because canvas board, and still have a black marker. I also use a Posca pen in white to pull out some highlights up in here, because there was really no way for me to do that unless I would have treated it like watercolor and done it on paper. That's really what I should have done to begin with. My bad. So throwing in some nice thick black lines, end up throwing in some smaller ones too for extra texture and a tiny bit more shading ideas going on. I will say getting these lines in with that black and then doing the white highlights did help this piece a lot, because there was a point while I was working on it where like, I am not going to be able to make this turn into anything. And I could have started over, but I have this thing sometimes where if I start something, unless it gets completely messed up, I've got to try to fix it and try to finish it. And that became very evident in this project right here. But to recap, I don't like the paint. The marker died. I will say, even though the brush came dirty. I do like the paintbrush. I will definitely be using the paintbrush again. I probably won't be able to use the marker. And like I've said, probably this is the third time I'm saying it, if I use the paints again, I'm going to use them more like watercolors. It just didn't work in the way that I'm used to being able to use them. Let me know if this stuff worked out a little bit better for you. It could just be that I had very, very bad luck with this box, because that can happen, and it does. Let me know in that comment section down below if your experiences were better. I also think that this box probably needed a white acrylic paint or a white marker to help with the highlights, or even just a thicker black marker. Maybe diminish one of the colors, take out one of those, and replace it with white or black. Or both. It just felt like something was missing to be able to make this kind of a full piece. Either way, I would have had to probably pull something else in. As always, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day or night to listen to me ramble about art stuff. If you liked this video, please hit that like button. If you want to see more videos like this, please feel free to hit that subscribe button. I post Artsnacks and Sketchbox unboxing videos once a month. If you have any comments, questions, feelings, or concerns, please let me know all about them in that comment section down below. And once again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day or night to watch this video. Hopefully, I will be hearing from you guys soon. Bye!